Good evening. Mr. Mayor, Reverend clergy, elected officials, members of the Joyce family, and friends of Hank Joyce, welcome. My name is Christopher Griffin, Acting Coordinator of Recreation and Community Events for the town of Braintree, and it's my honor to be serving as your Master of Ceremonies for tonight's program. To begin with, I would like to ask that you please stand for the posting of the colors by the Braintree Veterans Council, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Bert Tremblay, and then the singing of our national anthem by the Braintree High School Choir. Please post the colors.
Uncover. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Who? Cover.
Folks, I do have to ask you, I'm sorry, to please just remain standing one more moment as we welcome Father Sean Connor of the Sacred Heart St. Thomas More Collaborative to offer our invocation.
Let us pray. We come before our loving God with hearts filled with gratitude as we celebrate the gift of this community and those who serve and protect her, especially the many silent, the many very active people like Hank who teach, who bear witness, and serve so faithfully. As we remember the legacy of Dr. King, not only here in our own nation, but around the world, we're reminded that we must be active workers for peace. We must seek out those who are lost, those who are hurt. We must learn to love as God has showed us. We ask for blessings on this time, blessings on you, Hank, and your family, blessing on all who serve, protect, and teach in this community. We pray for our mayor. We pray for our police officers, firefighters, emergency workers, for our teachers, all who have worked so hard these past 2 years to make sure people are fed, cared for, taught, and loved. Mindful of the way that each of you pray, I ask the Lord to bless you, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Thank you, Father. Please be seated. I would like to welcome you all to the town of Braintree's Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Citizen of the Year celebration. Please allow me to introduce those who are sitting up front with me: Mayor Charles C. Kokoros, Father Sean Connor, of course our guest of honor, Mr. Henry Hank Joyce, and I would also like to recognize some of our elected officials who are with us: Town Council President Meredith Barrica, Councilor Julia Flaherty, Councilor Elizabeth Maglio, Councilor Joe Reynolds, Senator John Keenan. I know we have some school committee members here. School committee member Kathy Tuffy, school committee chairperson Lisa Heeger's here, and I do apologize if I missed anyone else. It is a bit tough with the masks. And we also want to note we have so many representatives here with us from our various youth sports leagues, particularly Braintree Babe Ruth, Braintree American Little League, East Braintree Little League. We are very honored to have with us tonight the president of Eastern Massachusetts Babe Ruth, Mark Matenis. Mark, thank you for being here with us as well. And we do have several of our past Martin Luther King Citizen of the Year Award recipients with us. Ann Toland is with us. Joe Oki O'Connor is with us, and John Collier is with us. So we're very happy to have those who have been honored in years past here with us again tonight. Let us begin this evening's program with a celebration of the life and legacy of one of America's true icons, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who in his memory we are all gathered here this evening. Dr. King was born on January 15, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. Dr. King was a graduate of Morehouse College in 1948, earning a degree in sociology. Dr. King went on to earn a theological degree from Crozer Theological Seminary in Chester, Pennsylvania in 1951. Dr. King pursued and completed his doctorate in theology not far from here at Boston University in 1955. Dr. King's legacy is a founding member of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, an organization formed to provide for our nation's burgeoning civil rights movement. At the age of 34, Dr. King was named Man of the Year by Time magazine. One of our country's most quoted statesmen, Dr. King earned the distinction of being the youngest man to receive the Nobel Peace Prize at age of 35. Dr. King in his time became not just a leader of the civil rights movement, but a worldwide figure advocating for nonviolent protests against segregation and radical discrimination. In 1968, while standing on a motel balcony in Memphis, Tennessee, Dr. King was assassinated at the age of 39. Dr. King spent his brief time on earth as a man who spent the most of his life putting others ahead of self. In a 1967 address to the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Dr. King said, "I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear." Tonight, we honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and tonight we are honored to recognize Mr. Henry Hank Joyce for his longstanding service, commitment, passion, and dedication, involvement with the town of Braintree, both as an elected and appointed official, youth sports league, director, and community volunteer. It is now my honor to introduce the mayor of our community, Charles C. Kokoros, for welcoming remarks. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Chris. Welcome, everybody. Today we gather to remember the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his courageous efforts in the fight for peace and equality for all people in our nation, and to honor this year's recipient of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Citizen of the Year, Henry Hank Joyce. I just want to acknowledge Hank's family. We have St. Mary, who's here. Hank's sons, Bobby and Jimmy, daughter Julie, as well as his many grandchildren, family, and so many friends. We also, I want to recognize Senator Keenan, Senator Walter Tumulty, Representative Mark Cusack, who some are here right now and some will be here. As well, once again, thank the Braintree Veterans Council Honor Guard for the great work that they do, and music director, Mr. Sawtell, and the show choir. You guys do such a great job at all of our events. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was someone who fought for peace when others promoted hatred and violence. This speaks volumes to Dr. King's character. He was a man of great courage, integrity, and bravery, and led our nation by standing up for what is right. Here in Braintree and all across our great nation, the promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness must be blind to color and creed. Anything less goes against the very premise of which our nation was founded. The third Monday in January is always Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which is also known as a National Day of Service. Dr. King once said, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" The quote rings true to how this year's recipient, Hank Joyce, lives his life every day. For all of us that know Hank, we know how caring and giving he is, and that is evident in all that he has done for the town of Braintree and all that he continues to do for our community, especially if you look at all of the folks in this room tonight on a Thursday night. Hank's service to Braintree began when he was a member of the Braintree Parks Commission. Hank was also District 4 Councilor for 6 years, from 2008 to 14. In addition to this time he spent in local government, he found time for many local community groups that he volunteered with. He has been an active member of the Knights of Columbus, St. Vincent de Paul, Braintree Rotary Club, American Legion Post 86, member of the Marge Crispin Center Board of Directors, and current chairman of the Braintree Elder Affairs Advisory Board, just to say a few. In addition to these various community organizations, Hank might be best known around town for his time spent with Braintree Youth Baseball and helping the youth of Braintree. He has spent countless hours, days and years dedicated to Braintree baseball, one of the reasons why we have Hank Joyce Field up at the high school. Whether it was field prep, tournament planning, fundraising, league management, you could always count on Hank to be there to help and lift up a kid's spirits during a game. Because of Hank's involvement in so many charitable organizations, he became known to many as the most expensive friend they have. But Hank's friendship is priceless. Hank's incredible contribution to Braintree is undeniable. He has done so much for our community and for me personally, and I consider myself lucky to have him as a mentor and, more importantly, as a friend. Hank, you have always gone above and beyond for your family, friends, the town of Braintree, and your service to your country. It is my honor and privilege to recognize you as the 2022 Town of Braintree Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Citizen of the Year. Thank you and congratulations. He looks great, doesn't he? Look at him.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have several members of our community who we've asked to come forward to share some words of congratulations to Hank. First, I would like to ask Braintree Veterans Council member and Hank's Red Sox spring training buddy, John Pellos, to come to the podium.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to say a few words about Henry Hank Joyce. Where do I begin? Well, I'm going to tell you. It was the mid-1950s when I first met Hank Joyce, or should I say Henry at the time. We were both in the 3rd grade together at St. Patrick's School in Roxbury together. Hank was a tall, thin young man with his school tie down below his collar, a unique voice, shirt tail was always out, and always engaged in conversation. Hank wasn't a discipline problem, he just liked to talk. By the 4th grade, Hank's family had an opportunity to move from the Orchard Park projects in Roxbury to Everett. Fast forward nearly 35 years later, Hank had continued his education. He worked at New England Merchants Bank, served in the United States Army, including a tour in Vietnam, married, moved to Braintree to start and raise a family. Hank and I met up around the early 1990s on an MBTA bus 236, which runs from Quincy Center via Braintree Station to South Shore Plaza. I was a regular rider on the bus with 3 other men. Hank was one of the friends of one of the members of our group. I would see Hank from time to time. In 1994, Hank asked me to join the Braintree Knights of Columbus as he was going to be Grand Knight. I previously had been in the Knights, but took a leave of absence after getting married. When I started to attend the supper meetings, I noticed the charity work that Hank was doing for the Knights. Charity is the first principle of the Order of the Knights of Columbus. Hank, as you may know, always has his hands full with raffle tickets or chance books for some of the worthy causes that the Knights were supporting. During the time from 1994 to 2002, Hank got involved with the Braintree Post 86. I got him involved. And he, like most of our fellow Vietnam veterans, it was invisible about his military service. Only recently, Hank purchased an American Legion service cap and wears it proudly at all patriotic events. In late 2002 and early 2003, Hank and I were very fortunate to receive early retirement. It was just the time at that time I really got to know most of the things of all the good works which he's involved in. Hank's favorite sport is baseball. For over nearly 30 years, he's been either director or treasurer of the Braintree Babe Ruth. Keeping kids involved in sports is a way of keeping them out of trouble. Also, Hank is a longtime Red Sox season ticket holder and always donated numbers of tickets to various different organizations to use as raffle tickets or at an auction. At Braintree Post 86, he's the athletic officer for the Post Junior American Legion baseball team. He's responsible for fundraising and organizing that team. Again, the idea, more baseball activities for Braintree youth. For the past 15 years, Hank and I have attended spring training, each time probably averaging 10 days each trip. We saw baseball games in many parts of Florida and also visited our friends in various parts of Florida. During all these trips, I want everyone to know Hank is the same in Braintree or in Florida. Also, that Hank is very involved with the Marge Crispin Center, and from time to time he's asked many of his friends, including me, to help out at various service activities to benefit members of the community. Hank is also involved as a director of the St. Thomas More St. Vincent de Paul Society, which helps neighbors in need on the local level. Hank, as we mentioned, is very active in the Braintree Knights of Columbus. During the Knights of Columbus annual Tootsie Roll drive for children with special needs, you can find Hank at the Dunkin' Donuts in South Braintree, accepting donations from his many friends. In addition, he's the director of the Braintree Knights 1462 Foundation. This is a trust set up to continue the good works of the Braintree Knights after the sale of our building at 875 Washington Street, just down the street. Hank's financial background and knowledge of the community makes important contributions to the trust. In all the organizations which Hank and I have been involved in, I've noticed he always tries to resolve different views by proposing solutions that are agreeable to all. I personally know many of the recipients of this prestigious award. Hank is a worthy recipient based on his service to others, helping out where needed, and being a peacemaker. Again, my friend, Hank Joyce. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Second, I would like to ask Hank's longtime friend and his fellow member of the first Braintree Town Council to come forward, Mr. Lee Dingy.
Good evening, everybody. Wow, I haven't looked out there since I came. It's so good to see a lot of Hank's friends here. And I know you're all friends, correct? Including our buddies from the Legion. Thank you very much, gentlemen. You know, I sat and thought of what I should be writing down about Hank, I'm sorry. I call him that a lot. But indeed, I think Mr. Pellos has touched on a lot of it. Certainly the mayor, thank you. The mayor has explained a lot of what Hank has done throughout town. What I'd like to touch on here right now is the ideals that, because we're giving this award, Martin Luther King cared about. And I think I need my glasses even though I printed this out rather large. Martin Luther King was a monumental legacy, and remarkable values can be hard to convey to children and adults of any age, as well as the important values MLK emphasized in simple ways we can help his dreams and wisdom alive. Martin Luther King belief was that there are certain values to instill in our children: equality, faith, nonviolence, education, love, leadership, selflessness, and hope. These are values that are very, very important for all of us in life to survive and get through and grow up to be fine adults and help out in your community. Hank Joyce certainly believed in that. His belief was that every child out there should have these values. That will leave them in good stead moving forward. And indeed, I see a lot of these children here tonight are youth. I like to say youth. And so I do appreciate the fact how much Hank has worked to instill that in children. And what he's done, as you all know, and I see a lot of sports people here, is helped out in with the youth sports. Baseball, basketball, and other sports in town. You know, he was the president of the Braintree Baseball League for many, many years. I can't even begin to start as to where he's been through all the different sports leagues. I hung around with Hank for a long, long time. He is my personal driver. I had an accident a couple of years ago, and for the moment, and it won't last, I haven't been driving. So I thank goodness for my wife, and mostly for Hank, because he's the one that pretty much takes me everywhere. And if you really want an experience in life, drive with Hank. Drive with Hank throughout town. I've known him for many years, and we first met in the political arena. I was out running a campaign for Board of Selectmen. Hank was out working on a campaign for someone else. It was a Sunday. The Patriots were playing. It was cold and rainy. He came across the street and introduced himself to me. Well, I didn't win that year. Hank is a great campaigner. He can make it work for anybody. But the following year, I did get a phone call at 7 o'clock on a weekend morning. He said, "Lee, what are you doing tomorrow?" I barely knew the guy. I said, "I really don't know." He said, "Well, get dressed, get up, get dressed. We have a few things to do." He said, "You're running for selectman, and I'm going to be your campaign manager." I said, "Okay, let it go." Well, we won that year, and we topped the ticket. So that was just the beginning of a long ride, a long, wonderful ride with Hank Joyce as a friend. He has been good. He's a confidant. One can talk with him and explain things to him. And he may sit there and just give you that look. But you know he's going to do something. He's going to fix whatever your problems are. He's going to help you out. I can't get over all the different organizations in town that he's helped, not just for the children, but for the elderly, for the veterans, like we have in the front row here. He's just constantly at work trying to help people. I've kind of got off my script because a lot of people have already said many of these things tonight. But I will say one thing. We did enjoy sports. Hank loves sports, and we enjoyed sports together. I can't play baseball, and I'm terrible at basketball. But I got out and I golfed with him a lot. He's the only golfer I know that only carries 3 or 4 clubs with him. That's it. That's it. All he needs, if those don't work, he picks up a stick. But he's a very good golfer. So that was quite an experience. And as we went on, I learned a little bit more and more about Hank. I didn't get into any other sports with him, but golf was enough. He played golf as often as he could, despite his 2007 handicap. Of the many golf courses he visited, Braintree Golf Course is one of his favorites. And as a member of the Braintree Recreation Committee, he championed maintaining the maintenance of the town-owned facilities. Today, Braintree Golf Course is a great asset and one of the finest around. And I think we can give a lot of that credit to Hank. There were a lot of hard workers on the golf course, but Hank is the person who will rally. Hank is the person who will get the support. Hank is the person who will, believe it or not, get the money. How many people here have gotten a phone call from Hank? Seriously. You want to help somebody out. So I think we all still owe Hank money. But he'll remind you when he needs it. Okay, he is a deep believer in fundraising. He works with young people and residents alike. I think we can all remember Hank. The phone calls, as I just said, can you spare some change for a great organization? And I think that there may be some other speakers here who will probably speak in between us. We do appreciate it. That's Hank's grandchildren. He taught them right. But I think I made my point, and I think everybody else here has made this point too. Hank has done a lot for the town. He's given a lot of his time. I think that's goes hand in hand with Martin Luther King's beliefs. And that is to help your community, help the people in your community, do everything you can. He's nonstop. He gets up early in the morning, I know I got a phone here that'll show you all the logs, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. He always has to run it by people. So I just appreciate everything he's done. I appreciate everything his friends. I appreciate what the mayor has done, the state senators we have here. We have members of our town council. It's with their backing that Hank feels confident. Well, believe it or not, he always feels confident. But he feels confident in getting out there and making these things happen. So I appreciate it. And the best day of my life was the day that Hank became my friend. And Hank,
I asked everyone to bring their checkbooks tonight, okay?
checkbook. Yes.
I'm asking for no money tonight.
He's not. He's got somebody out by the doorway with a plaque.
Thank you, Lee. And to your point about Hank being your driver, I too have been a passenger in Hank's car on several occasions. And, I think probably at least half of us in this room today have been Hank's guests for at least one Red Sox game. I have had the pleasure of going to many games with him. And whenever Hank drives in, he always insists that he can find a place to park on the street near Fenway Park. And so we always make sure you go in about 2 hours early, because whenever he sees an open space, he always insists that there's got to be one just a little bit closer somewhere. Hank, we went to a game last year. I think we must have crisscrossed Kenmore Square at least a dozen times before you found one to your liking. We did. We saved money. Well, I don't know. We probably used it all up in gas money. So, and finally, tonight, to our third and final speaker of the night, we want to invite somebody to speak on behalf of Hank's family, someone who is known to so many in this room. I see a lot of players here from the Braintree Baseball Club, so they know him as a terrific baseball coach, someone as a teacher in our public schools, and a friend to so many in this community, Hank's son, Jimmy Joyce.
I stole a couple of my jokes. So I'm going to put that roast speech away for a different day. Today when I printed out my speech, I said to the students, you know you're getting old when you need large print to be able to read it in typical teenage fashion. I got, why don't you wear glasses? I have contacts. Clearly they don't work. Gotta love teenagers. First, I want to thank Mayor Kokoris for recognizing my father. He's given a lot of time and effort to improving Braintree, and I know he's very proud of this town and its citizens. I want to thank everyone who came tonight. It certainly speaks volumes about how much my dad means to you. I want to thank Mayor Kokoris and Chris Griffin for giving me the opportunity to speak on my family's behalf. Before anything, I want to introduce my dad's family. My mom, Mary, as many who really know my dad like to call her Saint Mary. Anyone who has dealt with Hank for this many years is definitely a saint. My sister, Julie, her daughters, Ella and Maya. My brother, Bob, his wife, Megan, their children, Lucas and Olivia. And my wife, Chelsea, who's quickly approaching sainthood herself. My three loving, never-in-trouble kids, Colt, Riley, and Tana. On the family's behalf, I want to thank the town for keeping him busy all these years, giving us a very much-needed break. In all honesty, Dad, we love you, and we are very proud of what you have done over the years. When Chris first asked me to talk about my dad, I asked my mom what were the qualifications. Qualifications were a selfless, hardworking citizen, someone who puts others' best interests in front of their own. I think my dad's resume speaks for itself. My dad has been a member of the Braintree Knights of Columbus for 40 years, past Grand Knight. For years, he ran the town free throw contest, and you can still say hello to him at Dunkin' Donuts when he annually gives out Tootsie Rolls. Huge debate on Tootsie Rolls in our house. My dad and siblings love them. My mom and Sam and I say retire them. His next longest tenure may be baseball. Between Braintree National, Braintree Babe Ruth, he has given over 40 years and is still going strong. Men like my father, Bob Prout, Jerry Finesse, George Kelsch, Dan Fabrizio, Donnie Fredericks, I know I'm missing some and I apologize, have paved the way for historically successful baseball in this town. A few years ago, the town named the JV field at the high school after my dad, and I know that was one of his proudest moments. As a baseball coach, I try every day to follow in my dad's footsteps in the baseball community, and I find it a great honor to be able to coach in that field named after him. Other groups that he's involved in are the Marge Crispin Center, the Braintree Rotary, St. Vincent de Paul, Braintree Senior Center, and the American Legion. I'm not sure how he makes all these meetings, but my mom has a sign in the house, "We interrupt this marriage to bring you baseball season." As you can see, this clearly applies to a lot more than just baseball. In August, my family sold our house, and we have recently bought a house, doing some work before we can move in. In the meantime, we have taken up residence at my parents' house. Tana, raise your hand. That guy runs the show at 12 Totnes Road. I think my parents both deserve this award just for dealing with us. More times than not, when I come home, my dad is on the phone. On a majority of those calls, I can hear my dad asking, "How can I help? What can I do for you?" He's not been a town councilor for over 7 years, but people still know that they have a great advocate in my father. He knows what to say, what buttons to push, who to talk to get things done. He is always willing to help a fellow citizen in need. Some of those calls involve him soliciting money for some fundraiser. As his good friend Leo McDonald likes to say, Hank is the most expensive friend a guy can have. There are some calls where my dad gets off and he's pretty angry and I ask him, why does he do it? And it's always, who will take over when I don't? Martin Luther King once said, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. Well, I think it is clear that there is not much in this town that does not matter to Hank. I think the biggest example of my dad's selflessness is his status as a veteran. There are only a few in this room who can relate to the experiences a veteran goes through, but I think we all understand how much a veteran sacrifices to ensure our freedoms. For the past 15 years at South Middle School, I've had my students participate in a veterans project, and every year my dad volunteers to share his experiences. He takes great pride in being a veteran, and I think his biggest wish is that these interviews will strengthen the connection between these two groups, and our youth will come to respect, recognize, and be more open to helping the veterans in our community. In 2003, my father retired from work. There's not a day that goes by that my dad doesn't mention his regret for retiring too early. In his mind, he believes he left a lot of money on the table. When the topic comes up, I try to remind him that he made a decision that was best for him and his family. I'm not so sure my words of comfort work, because usually a few days later, he'll be mumbling the same thing. So maybe tonight helps. Dad, look around the room. Would we even be here if you continued to work? Retiring from work allowed you to follow your calling. Your calling in this life is to help people, and you have gone above and beyond that. Denzel Washington once said, you'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse, because no matter how much money you make, you can't take it with you. He also said it doesn't matter what you have, it matters what you do with what you have. Dad, you have a U-Haul. Your U-Haul is filled with a lot of love and respect the people in this town have for your work ethic and your dedication. You have a big heart, and as much as you and I disagree just about everything, I admire and look up to you for what you have done with that big heart. Your town and your family are very grateful and proud of what you have accomplished in this life. Thank you, everyone, again for attending.
I would now like to ask the mayor to return to the podium for the official presentation of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Citizen of the Year Award to Mr. Hank Joyce, and Mary and the Joyce family, if you could join us as well.
Let's start off with this will, you can keep track of time. And, at some point, I think when Lee was speaking, it started to go off. Then Chris had said, so. Hank, I know that you're not a man of many words, but if you'd like to come up and say a few words, I think everyone is anxiously waiting, okay?
Well, everything was already said.
Hank Joyce, folks.
All right, I guess I'm going to have to try to ad-lib this a little, as much as my wife doesn't like this, but basically everything I think I've done in the last 20 years, 30 years has been said already tonight, so this will be a little tough for me, so I'm going to try to, what do you say, cut and paste? So anyways, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. I really appreciate it. It's a great turnout, and I really, really, really appreciate it. Mayor Kokoris, I'd like to thank you and your committee for choosing me for the Martin Luther King Award, although I think there's many more people in town who deserve it more than I do. Chris Griffin, what can I say about my favorite redhead? Chris is the MC. Chris, thank you for putting all this together. I really appreciate it. And from my two friends over here, I'm not sure which one wants to throw more daggers, but anyways, I'm proud of both John and Lee, and they have been friends for many years. And I'll tell you, there's no one more solid than John and Lee as human beings. My family is with me tonight. I will not introduce them again because they've already been introduced a couple of times, but once again, St. Mary, who's the leader of the family, and her real name is Mary Patricia St. Peter Joyce. So I wasn't taking any chances when I got married, so I married hopefully my way into heaven. Since we moved to Braintree over 40 years ago, I've enjoyed met many wonderful people through all the organizations that I belong to. I will not repeat them again. However, I will talk a little bit about the Knights of Columbus, because that was the first organization I joined, and I met some very, very wonderful, charitable people there, and maybe that's what helped me along the way to care more about our fellow residents. But over the last 40 years, the Knights of Columbus have raised over $300,000 just in the Tootsie Roll Drive alone. This money goes into a central charity account for the Knights of Columbus, and then each individual council can go in there and request money for different projects. Over the years, the Braintree Council has taken out anywhere from $500,000 to $800,000 out of that charity account. And that money has been used to help people with special needs, help with ramps, help St. Coletta's when it needed money for finances to redo itself, and just many, many more causes for the special needs, which is very dear to our heart. I became involved in baseball in Braintree when my young boys started playing baseball. There, once again, I met a lot of dedicated people who really cared about the youth of Braintree and who worked hard to instill into them the idea of sportsmanship, the idea of team play, and most of all importance is making friends and keeping friends and being honest and truthful with your friends. So over the years, I've stayed the 30 years. I've enjoyed it. It's a labor of love. Yes, do you get frustrated sometimes? Yes, we all do. But once again, you remind yourself, you look in the mirror and you say, who can help out? And if you can help out, then you belong there. And that has always been my mission. As I had a lot of time on my hands when I retired, that's when I joined the veterans, the Rotary and other organizations, meeting a wonderful group of hardworking people. In order to get involved, you have to be not only a participant, but you got to become part of the board of directors that helps steer the organization. I find it keeps my occupation and enjoys me, and I enjoy doing it with all the time I have. I would like to ask the former people who received this award to please stand up for a minute and be recognized again. Please stand up. These people, along with many other people in Braintree, have given more and more themselves than anybody I know, and they continue to give it, and it's really appreciated. And it's such an example for what we in Braintree can do when we really care. As Martin Luther King said, he hoped that he would be remembered for giving his life services by feeding the hungry, clothing the needy, and being a drum major for peace and righteousness. All these recipients who have received this award have been examples of this quality. Moving forward, I hope to be able to continue my work in Braintree, and I hope you will let me continue my work in Braintree. And once again, I'd just like to say thank you very much. Most of the people stole my speech tonight, so therefore I had to ad-lib it. But anyways, once again, I want to thank you all, the mayor, Chris, the speakers, Father for showing up, and for all you wonderful people for coming here tonight. And I really appreciate it. And God bless you, and God bless Braintree, and may we continue to move forward in 2022. Thank you very much.
Folks, if I could just backtrack for 1 second, we do have an additional former Martin Luther King Citizen of the Year with us tonight. Miss Sunny Shaw is with us. I am sorry, Sunny, that I forgot. Sunny, it's so good to have you here. We do have one quick item that isn't on the program. Because of Hank's love of baseball, we thought about this point in the program we'd reach about the time when we'd have the seventh inning stretch. So the choir has very graciously, and Hank, we want to bring you up to help sing this. The choir is going to lead us and take me out to the ball game, so I would invite you all, please stand and stretch.
Let's go. go, Chris. No, no.
The mayor in the middle.
Oh, man, take me out to the pond. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jacks. I don't care if I ever get back, so it's good for the hands. They always say, for it's 1, 2, 3, like sugar and the old
Folks, please be seated. Thank you.
We'll be in, Coach.
I would now like to invite the Council President to come to the podium for the presentation of the Council citation. Council President.
Thank you. And if my fellow councilors who are here tonight want to join me, this is from the full council, and I know all 9 members of the council send their warm wishes tonight. So, on behalf of the Braintree Town Council, Mr. Joyce, thank you for all you have done and continue to do for the residents of Braintree. Your compassion, dedication, and thoughtfulness exemplifies the spirit of civility and public service that should inspire all of us, and I know it does me. So it is a great pleasure and honor to present this commendation to you on behalf of the Braintree Town Council, and I will read it out. Braintree Town Council, in recognition of Henry Hank Joyce, is recognized by the Braintree Town Council as the 2022 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Citizen of the Year honoree. Your service as a counselor from 2008 to 2014 and as a community leader and volunteer for decades has truly made a difference in the lives of Braintree residents. Thank you so much, Mr. Joyce.
I just want to say thank you to the council, and I appreciate it, and I wish you the best for the next 2 years. Hopefully we get those last 2 years behind us, and we can really move forward, and you guys can get the things done that you want to get done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, we're going to get a photo?
Yeah.
I don't get a chance to get all these lovely girls.
Force them into a...
Thank you again.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the Council. We would now to the presentation of legislative citations. I would like to call up Senator John Keenan to join us.
Good evening, everybody. It is an honor to be here, and I bring you the greetings of Braintree's legislative delegation, myself, Senator Walter Timilty, and Representative Mark Cusack. Senator Timilty couldn't be here this evening. He is in quarantine, but he wanted to certainly extend and offer his very best to Hank this evening. You know, back in 1957, Dr. King gave a sermon in Montgomery, Alabama, and it was entitled The Three Dimensions of a Complete Life. And in that sermon, he talked about the length of life, the breadth of life, and then the height of life, that upward reach of life. And as we gather here tonight, we know, thankfully, of the length of Hank's life, and may that be longer and longer and longer. And we know about the height of his life, that upward reach, made all that much more certain as he sits next to the Good Father and married to St. Mary. So those things we know to be true. And when Dr. King talked about the breadth of life, he talked about us learning that there's no greater thing than to do something good for another. This is the breadth of Hank's life. Think of all the people in this room, all the people that aren't in this room, whose lives have been touched by Hank, whose lives have been made better because they know Hank Joyce. And I am so fortunate to consider myself somebody whose life is better because I know Hank Joyce. So thank you, Hank. On behalf of the Massachusetts State Senate, we offer you this official citation. Be it known, the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its congratulations to Hank Joyce in recognition of receiving the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Peacemaker Award and your years of service to the people of Braintree. And be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends its best wishes for continued success, that this citation be duly signed by the President of the Senate and attested to, and a copy thereof transmitted by the Clerk of the Senate, signed by Senate President Karen Spilka, Clerk of the Senate Michael Hurley, and signed by your state senators, myself, John Keenan, and Walter Timothy, dated this 13th day of January. Hank, thank you for all that you have done. Thank you for being such a great, great friend to me and to everybody in this room.
Before we finish up, we just have a few people we want to thank. First, thank you to our guest speakers and to the members of the Joyce family who are here with us tonight. And Mr. Mayor, thank you for your words. And we want to thank BCAM, our friends from BCAM who are sending this out tonight. For those who are watching from home, and it will be repeated several times on our local BCAM stations. I do want to thank the team from the Mayor's office, Nicole Taub, Kate Naughton, and Steve Leary for all that they did to make tonight happen. And we want to thank Fasano's Catering. We please, we ask that you help yourself to a sandwich or two or three. We have so many back there. So as Hank's favorite part of the night and for us all would be just to gather for a little while after the conclusion of this ceremony and spend some time with one another, catching up and joining with one another. So we hope you can stay with us for a little while and enjoy some food and get to catch up with Hank. And if I could just take a moment of personal privilege, there are very few honors that I've had in my life that mean more to me than being able to MC this event for my friend Hank Joyce. I can think of few better ways to spend an afternoon than with you at Fenway Park, Hank, and I look forward to many more of those. So thank you for your friendship. So. And finally, the choir, for always being here to share their gift of song with us. Mr. Sawtell, thank you very much. Father Sean, thank you for being with us. And with that, Father, I would like to call you to the podium for the benediction, followed by the singing of Let There Be Peace on Earth by the choir. And after that, I would ask you all to please remain standing as the members of the Veterans Council retire our colors. Thank you very much. Father.
Thank you, Chris. For our young people here, I hope that this event speaks to you. We're given a lifetime, and we never stop learning in that lifetime. It's meant to change us and challenge us. All the side comments with Hank were priceless on the side. It was a lovely wake, he said. He hopes you all speak 20 years from now. If you've never read Dr. King's words or seen even some of the movies that have been done the last few years on the civil rights movement, which still continues today, please do so. Work together, work for peace, build bridges, do great public events with those whom you know, and do quiet ones. People are out there waiting to be fed, waiting to be comforted, waiting to be loved. And as Hank likes to hear at the end of Mass, this event is ended. Go in peace.
Thank you all very much for your attendance, and now please, we would love to have you join us for some refreshments. Thank you very much. Thank you, Father.